Hello students, in this video we are going to discuss the chapter Windstorm and Cyclone. This is part 1 of the lesson. The moving air is called wind. The properties of air that we are going to discuss in this video are: air exerts pressure, high-speed winds are accompanied by reduced air pressure, air expands on heating, hot air rises up, and wind currents are generated due to uneven heating of the earth. The first property is air exerts pressure. So we can see an activity here which proves that air exerts pressure. Now air is all around us, but we don't feel the pressure of air because an equal pressure is inside our body and it is balancing the pressure that is exerted by the air. So if you want to see how much pressure air can exert, this activity can be done. So here what you see, a tin can is taken and it is filled half with water. Then it is placed on a candle so that the water can boil. So when the water starts boiling, immediately the can is closed with the lid tightly. Now this can is put on a container and as you can see in this figure, cold water or tap water is poured on the tin can. Now as soon as cold water is poured on the tin can, you can see the can has become crushed. Now why did this happen? So what happens is that when you put water and this water is boiling inside the tin can, now this water has changed into vapor. Now as you know, half of the tin can is water, that means the rest half is filled with air. So when the water evaporates or when the water becomes vapor, this vapor occupies some of the places and it replaces the air. So the amount of air in the tin can becomes less due to water vapor. Now as soon as we close the lid and pour cold water, what happens is that this water vapor inside the space inside the tin can, this will condense and again form water. Now as soon as the water vapor condenses, there is space inside the tin can, the air is less, so the pressure of the air is also less. So what happens is that the air pressure inside the tin can reduces. The outside air pressure is still very high. So what you see here, because of this, the tin gets crushed because the pressure of air outside the tin can is more than inside the tin. So that is why the tin gets crushed. You can see the examples of air pressure in our daily life also. For example, in this case, as you can see, this person is, even you, when you ride bicycle against the direction of the wind, you will see that you have to put a lot of force to, it will be very difficult for you to ride a bicycle against the direction of the air. Again, this is because air exerts pressure. Also, you can see here the leaves of the trees, the banners, the flags, they flutter because of the air pressure. Also, in this second case, you can see there are some holes in the posters or the banners. Now why these holes are there? These holes are there so that the air can pass through these banners, because if the air will not pass through these banners, the air pressure will tear the banner or the banner will fall down due to air pressure. So some holes are made in the banners. So with this examples, we can say that air exerts pressure. Now we go to the second property of air that we are going to study, and that is high-speed winds are accompanied by reduced air pressure. So how do we prove this? Again, there is an activity. As you can see here, a bottle is taken, an empty bottle. There is nothing inside the bottle except air, and this bottle is held near the mouth, like as you can see this boy is holding this bottle, And then we crumple a small piece of paper, make a small paper ball and keep it at the mouth of the bottle, just like it is kept here. So what we see here is that in this position, if this boy is blowing air inside the bottle, okay, so he is trying to blow air so that this ball, this paper ball will go inside the bottle. But what happens is that even if you try to blow air and put this ball inside the bottle, the ball will not go inside the bottle, it will fall off. Now why does this happen? Okay, so this happens because wherever there is a high speed of wind, that place will have reduced air pressure. Now when this boy blows air, this position here, the pressure becomes less. So as the pressure becomes less, and inside, as you know, the bottle has air and there the pressure is more, so that pressure, the high pressure area, will push the ball outside towards the low pressure area. Okay, so there will be a difference of pressure. Okay, because here the boy is blowing air, so the speed of the air will be more, so the speed of the wind will be more here. So what happens is that whenever there is high speed wind, their pressure will reduce, so the pressure here will reduce. So now the pressure inside the bottle is more than outside, so the paper ball will move outside. So even hard, if you blow hard and try to put the paper ball inside the bottle, the paper ball will not go inside, it will always fall outside. So this is an activity to explain this concept. Now there is other activities also. Here what is done, here two balloons are taken of the same size, they are hung on a stick with the help of string, okay, and a gap of 8 to 10 centimeters is kept between these two balloons, as you can see here. Now what he is doing, he is blowing air between the two balloons. Now when he is blowing air, you can see these two balloons are coming towards each other. Again, why this happens? Again, this is the same concept of high speed wind is accompanied by reduced air pressure. So when this boy blows air in this area between the two balloons, what happens is that area, the pressure becomes less, as we have already discussed, that when there is a high speed wind, the pressure will reduce. Now the pressure on the outside area is more than the inside area. So what will happen? The outside pressure will push the balloons together, so the balloons will come towards each other. So this is another proof that high speed winds are accompanied by reduced air pressure. Let us see another example. Here a strip of paper 20 cm long and 3 cm wide is held between a thumb and the forefinger. Like as you can see here, this strip of paper, a very thin strip of paper, is held between the thumb and the forefinger near your mouth, and he is trying to blow the air above the strip of paper. Now as he tries to blow the air above the strip of paper, you can see the strip of paper rising up. So why is this happening? This is happening because as he blows air above the strip of paper, the area above the paper has low air pressure and the area below the paper has high pressure. So the high pressure area will push the strip of paper upwards. Okay, so these are some examples where you can see that high speed winds have low air pressure, are accompanied by low air pressure. So this is the fact that we see in cyclones. As you can see, the roof of this building is being blown away. Again, this is due to the difference in pressure between the inside the building and outside the building. So you should always remember one thing is that increased wind speed is accompanied by reduced. So wherever there will be high speed winds, there will be reduced air pressure. Air moves from a region of high pressure to a region of low pressure. Always air will move from a region of high pressure to a region of low pressure. The greater the difference in pressure, the fastest the air will move. Okay, now The next property of air that we are going to discuss is air expands on heating. For this, again, we take an activity. So in this activity, we take a boiling tube, as you can see here. This tube is called a boiling tube, and we stretch a balloon on the neck of the tube. In this case, as you can see here. Then we take some hot water. As you can see here, we are taking some hot water and we are putting this boiling tube inside the hot water. And we keep it for 2 to 3 minutes, and what we see is that the balloon will inflate. Again, if we put it in cold water, as you can see here, the balloon deflates. Now what happens is that this boiling tube, inside the boiling tube there is air, and when we put it in warm water, hot water, the air inside, it heats up, and as the air heats up, it expands. So when it expands, that is why this balloon, as you can see here, the balloon is inflating. And the opposite will take place when you put it in cold water. So with this experiment, we can say that air expands on heating. Then hot air rises up. Now as the air heats up, it rises up. So this also can be proved with the help of this activity. Here two paper bags or cups are taken of the same size, and they are placed in an inverted position with the help of a string, and is attached to a wooden stick, so that these two cups are in a balanced position. Now a candle is placed below one of the paper cups or paper bags. What we see is that after some times, the paper bag which is placed above the candle, it rises up and the others will come down. So why does this happen? This happens because the hot air, when air becomes hot, it rises up. So what happens when in this case, when we place the paper bag above the candle flame, the air inside the paper bag heats up, and as you know, hot air is lighter and it rises up. So this paper cup also becomes lighter and it rises up. So this proves that hot air rises up. Now we can see a lot of examples of hot air, this property of air that is used in our daily life. Here you can see a hot air balloon. This uses this property of hot air rises up to fly in the air, you can say. Also you can see the ventilators that we have in home. These are basically to release the hot air or replace the hot air by cold air. So when we breathe, warm air comes out, and as this warm air is lighter, it rises up and it moves out through the ventilator, so that cold air can come through the windows. Now the question is, how are these wind currents generated? Okay, so we know that wind currents are generated due to uneven heating of the earth. Now what are the reasons for this uneven heating of the earth? Why is some portions of the earth more hotter than the other? So the first reason is uneven heating between the equator and the poles. Now the regions of the earth which is close to the equator, because it is near the sun, so it gets maximum heat from the sun, and because of this area are much warm. As this area much warm, the air in this area is also warm and it rises, creating an area of low pressure. So the cooler air from the region, say about 30 degrees latitudes, that is about this Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn, they move or they rush towards the equator and replace the warm air. The same thing happens around the poles also. The poles, the air in the poles is much more colder than that of the say 60 degree latitudes. So air moves from poles to this about 60 degree latitudes. So in general, the movement of air is from the poles towards the equator. The movement of air is towards the equator. So that is one of the reason for generating wind currents, that is uneven heating of the equator and the poles. Next, second reason that we can see is the uneven heating of land and water. So during summer, You have already studied this in convection wind current, that the land, it heats up quickly and cools down quickly also, and water takes time to heat up as well as to cool down. So during summer the land near the equator warms faster than the water in the oceans. The air above the land gets warmer and rises up, creating a low pressure area. Therefore, the winds from the ocean will blow towards the land. Now, these winds, as they come from the oceans, they carry a lot of water vapor, and therefore they bring rain. And therefore, we have rain during the summer, and these rain bearing winds are called monsoon winds. So, we have this rain during the summer, which is brought by the monsoon winds. Now, what happens during the winter? Just the opposite. During winter, the direction of the wind gets reversed. The wind blows from the land to the sea due to the difference in air temperature between land and sea. Here what happens is that during winter the land cools down faster than the water in the oceans. So now the air above the oceans is warm and it will rise up, and there will be a low pressure area. So the air from the land will rush towards the sea. Now the air in the land has less water vapor, and therefore the amount of rain in winters is also very less. So these are the reasons for generating a generation of wind currents. Now the monsoon is a word that has come from an Arabic word called Mausam, which means season. Monsoon brings rain, as you know. The summer monsoon, which brings heavy rain, is very important for the farmers because this annual rainfall helps in growing the crops, and farmers, they depend on rain for irrigation of their crops. But sometimes this rain also creates a lot of problems like floods, and which can pose a threat to human, animal and plant life. So that is about this video.